Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening with us. I certainly appreciate everyone here for us. We want to start out the evening with a prayer from Mr. Charlie Van Sant. If you would, sir.
Heavenly Father, Lord, I'm sorry, you don't have to say anything. Am I doing the pledge after?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that, Lord, but we're gathered here tonight, thankful, Lord, for your graciousness to us. Lord, thankful that Keystone's in between the two coasts and we seem to be spared a lot of the hurricane and storm damage when it comes, Lord. We pray for those that are still afflicted by it recently, those recovering from high and down south. Lord, I pray that you be with these council members tonight, and city manager and attorney and everybody that has a part of this presentation, Lord. I pray that every word that's spoken, every deed that's done will lift up and glorify you at the end, Lord. We thank you for our community and the pleasure of living here, Lord, and being able to raise our children here. And all these things we ask with a grateful heart. In the name of Jesus our Lord.
Amen.
Thank you. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Rotowski, you give us a roll call.
Mayor Rodenroll,
Here.
Vice Mayor Thompson,
Here.
Councilman Brown, here. Councilman Hart.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
We do have public comments before we begin. I just wanted to explain to council that we did have some vandalism that occurred behind the building. We had some individuals, some juveniles that painted our building windows and some of our playground equipment. We have 3 of those individuals that are here tonight. Part of the conversations between the City of Keystone Heights and the Clay County Sheriff's Office is that we will not go move forward with criminal mischief charges, providing that they clean up, that they do community service hours with the city, and then come apologize to council. So I have 3 of those individuals tonight, and I'd like to bring up Miss Alexis first, please. Just right here.
Yes.
My name's Alexis, and I am sorry for painting and destroying your walls. I learned from my mistake, and I will never do it again. I'm really sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Alexis. I appreciate it.
Next, we have Miss Cheyenne.
My name's Cheyenne, and I'm sorry for destroying your property, and it won't happen again. I've learned from my mistake, and I've learned my lesson.
Thank you.
And then next, we have Miss Kate.
I'm Kate, and I'm sorry for painting on your walls. I knew better. I promise I won't do it again. Thank you for not pressing charges, and sorry for wasting your time.
I want to say to each of you, thank you very much for being adults and coming forward to share your apology. I hope you all have learned from this, and I hope that you can lead by example with your classmates to ensure that it doesn't happen anymore. We certainly would appreciate that, and I'm sure you understand how much it takes to keep our property and our city looking as nice as it does. So thank you for being here tonight.
Next, for public comment, we have Mr. David Kirkland.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is David Kirkland, and I reside at 7266 Southeast 2nd Place, Stark, Florida. The resolution you are considering tonight to place a proposed amendment on the next general election ballot, amending Section 38, addresses 2 separate issues. Number 1, with respect to the Florida National Guard representative, I agree that the issue with replacing the Florida National Guard representative with a new city seat is needed to rectify the Florida National Guard's concern with their representative being a voting member of the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. Item number 2, making the airport a department of the city should be a separate resolution. Combining these 2 issues into one resolution limits the choices the citizens of Keystone Heights would have when voting. The verbiage in Section 3 is not transparent at all. You don't define for the citizens what, and I quote, amending the responsibilities of the Keystone Airport Authority means. I have two other comments with respect to the September 25th meeting. Councilwoman Thompson and Mayor, those comments, I think, and this is my personal opinion, is very misleading. Councilwoman Thompson, when Mr. Seamer realized his request for copies of every lease would be hundreds of pages, and that he could look at all of them anytime in the office, he was fine with that solution. The reason for revising the leases was not due to Mr. Seamer's request, but resulted from eliminating the use of the Consumer Price Index and implementing an annual adjustment on a physical year rather than a calendar year to our leases. And Councilwoman Thompson, who are you to question why Maria Searcy decided to resign? You had no idea what might be going on in her life. That was her personal decision, and you should have respected it. Madam Mayor, I'm very concerned with your comments that, alluding to the airport, that hands out there need to be slapped on Sunshine Law. That's your quote. You also said, speaking of the authority, we don't do that on every situation. Are you implying there have been Sunshine Law violations? And here again, no specifics. If there is an issue which there is not, why haven't you addressed them with me? I've offered to be available to meet with you anytime, but you've never called. So I want to say thank you to all the men and women who make this freedom that I exercise tonight to provide this public comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. John Sesser. I know who I am. Okay.
Excuse me? You bet. Dr. John Zeser. I live at 505 Southeast Palmetto Avenue, Keystone Heights, and I would just like to ditto what Mr. Kirkland had said. We did have a 2-2 vote where a gentleman decided to change his vote to keep the airport where it belongs instead of underneath the city. I personally, as a very long student of history, have never seen anything good about consolidation of authority amongst one central authority figure, be it a town council, be it a person, be it a group of individuals. I feel it is always best to keep things separate. Let the volunteerism do its thing. Tell somebody what you want done and let them do it themselves. I did watch the last thing, I'm sorry, okay? I came up here, last time I had a 3-minute speech all prepared, now I'm strictly winging it. So you're gonna have to deal with a little bit of rambling. I do just like you go back to that vote. Now you're going to a referendum where only 30 people can participate within the due discourse of debate. That debate happens to be here. 30 people are the current, maybe it's plus or minus a few, that are subscribing to the Keystone Heights YouTube site that we have, and there's roughly 300 people that do vote. So that means you're going to have about 270 odd folks who have no idea what we're talking about. They're going to see a referendum, and they're going to hear maybe a few comments here and there. So I think it might be a good idea to try and pass the word along so more people could subscribe, so they could participate in our due process, which is our debate that we are going on right now, so they could be a better informed population when they do the referendum vote. I just want to echo Mr. Kirkland's sentiments with regards that I think things should remain separate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thanks. All right. So with regard to, let's see, next is Events Pavilion.
We have no events on the agenda for this month.
Okay. Number 3 here, the resolutions and ordinances. So I want to make a motion to read by title.
I'll make the motion to read by title, please.
Is there a second?
To speed things along, I'll second that.
Okay.
And all those in favor of reading by title?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2023-8, a resolution to place a proposed amendment on the next general election ballot, amending Section 38 to amend the responsibilities of the Keystone Airport Authority and removing a seat of the Florida National Guard of the Charter for the City of Keystone Heights, providing an effective date of January 1st, 2025. If we could open for public comment.
Okay. Any public comments? Okay, bring it back to you all. Any discussion?
I'll save my comments for last.
Mr. Brown, any comments?
I don't have anything.
Excuse me, when I read over this yesterday, I also had some concerns about tying it in together. I think it needs to be separate if it's going to be out there for the citizens. We see stuff, I hate to say this, but we see stuff in DC gets put on underneath here and there, and nobody knows what they're voting on. And I agree that if we put this together, if we put this together, it's going to be confusing for some of our residents. So I think we need to keep it separate if we do this.
And just in quick response to that, I agree that they traditionally would be separate, but after observing the direction of council at the last meeting, it didn't appear that the separation of the airport to create a new city department was going to be passed. So with that, I would anticipate an amendment to this resolution.
Any comments?
I agree with Mr. Brown that there are really two separate issues, and that if this were put to the electorate, I think they would be totally confused. And I do want to raise just a procedural issue. The city attorney and I have talked about this before. Excuse me. He may disagree with me, but I don't think we can do what this proposes to do by way of a resolution. I think Florida Statute 166.031, paren 1, requires an ordinance. Now, if this were something initiated by the citizenry, then you do it by resolution. This is something initiated by council, and I think the language of the statute is clear that we can't do this by resolution. It has to be by ordinance. I also agree with Mr. Brown that if it does go forward, those two issues should be split.
And Councilman Hart and I did speak about that. It was already part of your agenda packet, but it's fine to, again, I anticipated that because it's going to be a significant change to what's in your packet, it's going to come back for first reading anyway.
So it would come back as an ordinance in the form of an ordinance, which would then satisfy some of the public comment that would give rise for a first reading, second reading, and people having the opportunity to speak.
You'll just have more than the required public comment, which is always fine.
Yeah. So, in effect, you and I are in agreement that the correct procedure, if we do split this, would be to do it by ordinance and not by resolution.
Yes, I mean, I think it can be done by resolution based on the way our charter is written, but I agree with you that the statute does say it can be done by the governing body by ordinance.
The charter requires that the provisions of this charter may at any time be amended, blah, 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 in accordance with general Florida law. At section 41 of the charter. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to abide by Florida law in the procedure of this. The second point, which I don't know if we're going to raise, which I will if we get to the merits, is for all the reasons that I've stated before, that we are putting the taxpayers, citizens of the city, very much at risk if the city takes this on for tort risk, in other words, for accidents, for contract, and also we have discussed a little bit our lack of expertise, and there could be a lawsuit brought for a lack of good management. So for the policy reasons and for the procedural reasons, if this does come to a vote, I would be a clear no.
Ms. Thompson?
I don't have any comments on it.
Okay. I will assure all of you out here, this does go to a vote, referendum in the spring. We will have a town hall that will present both sides of structure and educate the voters on what they're voting on. So I don't want any of you to think this is going to be something that's just pitched out there and they don't know what they're voting for. So there will be an effort that goes into that with a non-biased positioning of what the facts are versus what you read on media or you hear somebody say, which there's a lot of that going on. So I want to make that very clear. Sunshine laws, there have been issues with sunshine laws, and I have mentioned that to you, Mr. Kirkland, and you and I can sit down and chat even more detail. We've also had workshops where this has been brought up. So those are things that we have to be all aware of. I know we have some current changes that are getting ready to happen for the airport, which are extremely exciting, which I'm really excited to see where that goes, okay? But we will have a public event so folks can learn what the true differences are, which I think is the right thing to do. So now we need to take a motion, right?
Yes.
So anyone make a motion for me? So we need to,
No, there was a motion to read by title. This is a motion as to whether or not to approve or deny the resolution.
can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve this resolution.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
We're lacking a second.
Yeah.
There's-
we have-
there's
we
not
need
a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second, who's second? You did, or no, you made the vote,
I
I'm
made the
sorry.
motion.
Did you second it, Steve?
I did not.
Okay, I'll second it then.
You're the chair, you can't make a motion or second.
Do what?
As the chair, you don't make a motion or
I'm sorry.
second.
So we don't have a motion for second?
You don't have a second to the motion.
Okay. So what's next for that?
The issue
happens?
dies.
Dies for
Issue-
lack of a second.
Motion
Okay.
fails.
So there can either be amendment or direction from council to separate the issues.
I think we could do that under our separate comments at the end, if that would be permissible by the chair.
Is what the council wishes?
Well, there's been no second on the motion, so in effect, the motion, the issue dies, and we move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
You don't want to talk about what the path forward is for the National Guard seat?
Yeah. I personally think that is a definite. We have to do something about that. So, if whatever we have to do, if that has to go out to the voters, we need to get that taken care of tonight.
It does, so I would ask for direction from council to come back with an ordinance at our next two meetings, a special called meeting and a regular called meeting, in order to have our public hearings to place this on the next ballot.
I'll make that motion to do that.
I don't.
I'll second.
Yeah, I don't even really
You
need a
don't-
motion, I just need
a-
direction.
Okay. I'll second that.
So as long as there's no.
I
strong
think this
objection.
is consistent with the wishes of the airport based on a little bit of knowledge that I have, and it makes a certain amount of sense because I guess the National Guard hasn't really participated and doesn't really want to. The only other route that I think we could take would be basically upon a close reading of the charter, our charter ordinance, we are required to make that offer that they don't have to accept. Then I think that would leave with an even numbered board, which would be sort of awkward at times. So for those reasons, I concur with going forward with that portion of the resolution pertaining to the seat.
And, you know, we're currently in a position where at least it's been explained to me that there's quorum problems periodically from time to time because of the seat, and also that there's some limitation on the National Guard side, which prohibits them from actually acting as a voting member on the airport authority. So given that information, we're really doing this at their request.
Sure. And they could still have input just by attending meetings and opining as to what they would like done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As can every citizen in this
Correct.
city attend any open meeting we have.
So based on
And-
that direction, I'll come back with an ordinance to do that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, the financials for August 2023, the payables for 2023, and the minutes from the September 11th and the September 25th council meetings. Have you all been able to review that?
I move the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is city business. Mr. Towski?
Madam Mayor and Council, in your packets, you do have the resignation letter from former Councilman Bobby Brown, effective October 1st. We did receive his computer today. We are very sad and wish him the best moving forward with his health. In your packets, there is a tentative outline of a schedule moving forward, because the charter does state that we are required to, or that the council is required to appoint the next council member through April 13th, I think, is the end of the term date for the election set forth in April. So if you can just 1 second, I'll just scroll down past the majors. Minutes. Okay, in your packets is the section 14 of the charter, and then I've laid out a timeline, a tentative timeline of opening a period of interest, accepting letters of interest to myself regarding the open seat 3 from tomorrow, October 3rd, through Friday, October 13th. Monday, October 16th, and I'll email out packets, and anybody who's interested can do the due diligence that make sure that they comply with charter regulations and rules for qualifying for a seat. And then possibly, and this is coinciding with a workshop for the 2 projects that the council was looking at, doing a special council meeting on October 23rd, Monday, October 23rd at 10 a.m. to appoint seat 3, and then at that time they'll also bring first reading of our ordinance to council if that suits, that pleases council. And so that way the council, the next council member will be seated for our November meeting.
The question, how will that be advertised?
We'll put it up on the website tomorrow morning, and then up on the sign.
Is there a special form they have to fill out? Or is there something online that they fill out to submit?
So it'll be a letter of interest, and then as they come in, I'll be able to work with them through identification to make sure that they meet qualifications of what a city council member is required,
They
which is
could-
be a residence,
They could supplement that with a resume, so they, if they chose.
if they chose, yes.
Okay.
Is it,
That's perfectly fine, looks good. Yeah.
so, Madam Mayor, I do have it down at item G under city business, but if we can go ahead and handle item G as well, as allowing for a workshop the same day, October 23rd, to discuss the museum and the proposed fishing pier. That way, I've had conversations with the Heritage Commission and Ms. Katz James regarding open dates. Everybody seems to be available on October 23rd, if that suits council.
That's fine.
Perfect.
Yep. Okay. Okay, next is city clerk position. So we are talking about moving forward and hiring a city clerk. Mr. Towski, can you give us the information you have on that?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So in your packets is a draft job description for the city clerk with the salary range and the listed responsibilities, if there is any changes or any suggestions to that. If not, then the next question for council would be a timeline on how long you would like to advertise this. Between the city attorney and I, we can advertise it within the International Municipal Clerks Association as well as the Florida League of Cities, and then we'll do local advertisements. But it's at the will of the council on what that timeline will look like for accepting applications, reviewing applications, and then an interview process, or selection and an interview process.
You guys have thoughts on that?
The sooner the better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown?
This was left on my windshield today. I have no idea who left it there when I went out. But I was for some reason, have always thought it would have been the manager hiring the clerk. But according to what was left, it's the council that is hiring the clerk?
That's correct. There was some discussion a number of years ago about changing that, and the council never made that decision to change it.
Okay.
Well, it's in the charter, and it's been in the charter that the city clerk is hired by the council.
Okay.
Okay.
Looking at the guidelines or the outline for qualifications, I noticed that there's a realistic combination of experience and/or education. High school is the minimal, college credits is preferred but not required. I just wanted to clarify that.
So then, moving forward, is there a date that council would wish to have? Is there a date that council would wish to have applications back by and then given possibly a week to go through before we meet for selection?
I think we want to move forward as soon as possible with the most reasonable timeline that we could get a nice array of applications. I don't know if it's 2 weeks and then try to have someone in place before December, hopefully, or maybe even by November. I don't know how quick or how many folks will apply.
How about we can go ahead and advertise in those places to have resumes and applications in by,
November 30?
I was thinking October 31st, and that way you can have, I can send those out. We can schedule a special call meeting
In November.
if need be, and then move forward with that process. And so by the end of the month, have resumes, applications, and see if we
So
get.
realistically, the candidates will have about 3.5 weeks or so to get their resumes in and applications. Sounds reasonable.
Okay?
I'll work with Mr. Commander to get that out this week.
Okay, next is city manager. And I know kind of from our discussions the other day during our meeting recently, we all opposed your resignation, Ms. Ratowski. But a couple of things have to happen, in my opinion, regardless if you, and I certainly respect your decision, whichever way you decide to go. But for sure, we need to take a look at the salary coming in, what that position would be. Definitely due for an increase, without a doubt, in my opinion, based on the national survey that I just personally did myself. And also the fact that definitely have a city clerk in place prior to that person taking that position. That would be one of the conditions that we have to have moving forward. And also, I think it's the whole thing about having a performance review. Everyone who has a job has a performance review, with the opportunity that you get an increase in pay, whether it's cost of living or whatever it may be. But it certainly gives us an opportunity to certainly give you the pat on the back that you deserve for the job you've done, but also to identify things that we can all do better, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose of having one. It's also good for you and any other positions that the next person goes forward with in their career as they move forward. So I think that's something that has to start being done, effective next year for sure. Do you want to go ahead and start looking for a city manager or start recruiting?
So based on the conversation that we had with council, I think that probably focusing the efforts on a city clerk would be first and foremost, getting somebody in here. And then once the city clerk's put in place, then we can start looking at the process. A city manager position, I would not want the council to rush into on a need, as stated in the last council meeting last Monday. I will stay here through the duration, if that means into February or things of that nature, to make sure that council is left with a city manager.
Would you encourage a review process for yourself?
I'm sorry.
Would you encourage us to do a review process for you?
That's entirely up to council, if
Okay.
you want to go through those motions or not.
Well, as I think the mayor might have suggested, that could help you as far as looking for a new position, if that was your, because I sense the support of the council would be very, very good. On the other hand, hopefully the process would convince you to not resign. So.
And I absolutely appreciate that, and I do appreciate all of the comments, and I had conversations with you individually over the last week. I do appreciate all of your comments. This was not a decision that was made lightly. This was not a decision that was made emotionally. It's a time decision, and it's time, I believe that. So I would welcome council to go ahead and start thinking about those processes on what an evaluation would look like for your new city manager, and discuss pay. Like I said, I believe that in my personal opinion, it's completely up to the will of council that a city clerk is vital, and that should be a position that we need to look into now, and then we can work through the process of a city manager.
Because you had mentioned that you would want to stay, asked us to approve you staying through, I think you said either February or March of 2024?
Depending on how long that process took, yes.
Yeah, so I think in our timeline to hire the city clerk, we want to do that as soon as possible so that person is in place at least 60 days before you decide to move on, minimally. And just kind of keeping those dates in mind because holidays coming and everything getting ready to happen.
Yes,
Just so we have the time and, you know, it makes it a smooth transition.
absolutely.
Okay. Are you guys good with that?
I do have a question. All right. We all know what took place last Monday, but we're talking about moving on. But you haven't given us a letter of resignation. That was kind of a verbal. So is that what we're going on? To go forth on finding somebody else?
I can give you a letter of resignation, Councilman Brown. However, my contract requires a 90-day date certain. So, as stated in the last meeting, if a letter of resignation is what you're looking for, then that would put 90 days from that letter.
I think we can handle it on a verbal basis. You've made
Okay.
your intention clear. I think we can go on that basis.
Okay, that's fine. Just had a question.
She has verbally tendered her resignation, and we have verbally said we're not going to accept it, and that's exactly where we're at.
Okay, well, I think we have a plan for that, at least, moving forward. So, Mr. Towski, on the DRMP Parks Plan?
Yes, Madam Mayor, in your packets is the parks plan we spoke about. GRMP went through some changes. This was a revised parks plan with their consultant, Manzana. The parks plan, as outlined, has a fee cap of $36,976. That includes all the parks within inside city limits. Scrolling down, there is a brief scope stating that there's going to be community engagement. It names out the parks being able to utilize the Sunrise Park as a sports complex as well as the 3 downtown parks. And then it will also, in our ride-along, include conversations about the trailhead. They've got task 1, task 2, task 3, and task 4, task 5 outlined, and they are looking at a timeline to have this convinced by the end of January, or have this completed by the end of January. And so this has been something that was approved by council through a different consultant, the GRP contracted with, who's since left GRP. This is their new consultant. This is also the consultant that has been contracted to handle our smart cities. So they are very familiar with the city if you so choose, but it is their engineering.
Okay. So on to park rules.
Oh, excuse me,
I'm sorry.
just a comment. I'm grateful to see that under task 2, they will be preparing concepts for the parks, which will include park benches and so on, but splash pads. I'm glad that was specifically mentioned. Thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption.
No, that's okay. Anybody else have any comments? No? All right. Park rules.
So if council would like to move forward with this, we will need a motion.
Okay.
I so move that we move forward with the DRMP plan.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We get a vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so next, we're going to have the Heritage Commission have a host workshop with them to discuss their goals of creating a museum. And then also, we're going to include during that workshop a part there for the fishing dock with the Save the Lakes group, with Vivian's information that she's wanting to share with us with the fishing dock and pier. Right now, the tentative date is October 23rd on a Monday at 10:30.
We need to do the park rules. The park rules.
What about park rules?
Did we not cover park
We-
rules?
Yeah, we did.
No.
We just voted to accept.
No, there's two different things.
What?
So
I'm sorry,
one-
what I miss?
One was the parks plan, which you did vote to approve.
Oh,
And then the next one under it was
Sorry,
discussion
guys.
previously, and I apologize for the late proposed resolution or ordinance, but there's discussion about changing our ordinances to make it so that anyone who's visiting the park, if they're under age 16, would have to have an adult with them, and also giving our local law enforcement the authority to enforce those rules and restrictions.
Just visiting or just swimming? Because I think swimming was referred to.
Well, I included both. I meant as opposed to hopefully not living there, but
I'm sorry, I missed that. Can I get a motion?
take a look at it. We'll start it through the process. If you have any suggested amendments to the regulations, let's just try to do them before we have our first reading.
I would be in favor of going forward with it.
Rich, would these rules be posted? How would they be disseminated?
Yes, they would be posted.
They would be posted,
So
okay.
they would replace the postings of our parks rules right now.
Okay.
And then once it was adopted or adopted by council, we would include that
Okay,
and repost.
okay.
Can you get a second? Chris
Second.
just made a motion.
No, I
You-
really
You
didn't.
second it, Tony?
Yep.
Okay. Can I get a vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now, Heritage Commission Workshop. Looking forward to having this, and certainly it's open to the public, but it is October 23rd at 10:30. Moving on to our committees, Budget and Finance. Mr. Ratowski?
I am happy to report that our budget has been approved and it has been submitted to the Department of Revenue with our advertisements that came back as they were legal and within the regulations, and we will be posting on our eTrim website as soon as we get the word from the property appraiser that we're open to do so. So we're right in line with adopting our fiscal year 23-24 budget, and then we will be looking at the truing up for the previous year we just closed in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you. Growth Management?
No
Mr. Hart?
report.
Okay, Mr. Kirkland? Keystone Heights Airport?
Good evening again, Madam Mayor and Council. September has been a busy month. We have had meetings and workshops, and just for the record and for the audience, on September the 14th at 3 p.m., the authority met in a workshop format to finalize interview questions, scoring matrix, and a short list of candidates for the airport manager position. The second workshop was held on September 26th, starting at 10:30 a.m. to interview 5 candidates, and was adjourned at 5:50 p.m. Needless to say, that was a long day. Thank you, Mayor, for being there, and City Manager Ms. Ratowski for participating in that as well. A special call meeting was held on September the 26th at 7 p.m. to evaluate interviews, tally scoring matrix, and select a candidate to fill the airport manager position. And I am really happy to announce that Mr. Craig Kuhn accepted the authority's offer to become the new Keystone Heights Airport Manager. While his official start date is today, he's already been at the airport a couple of days, Thursday and Friday. Mike and Lori already put him to work, so he's been meeting staff, getting acquainted with a lot of the tenants, and just meeting folks that were coming in. And I'm going to ask Craig to come up at this time and just address the council and share a little bit about himself and answer any questions you might have. And then I've got 2 other items I'll close out with. Craig?
Thank you. Hello, Craig Kuhn. I have 20 years of professional aviation experience that ranges from filling airplanes in the middle of winter, carrying luggage, mowing grass, weed eating, to I was a flight instructor, charter pilot. I've flown coast to coast and border to border, even beyond. And so I feel like I have a pretty vast amount of experience in airports and what makes them tick and just the whole ecosystem. And so that's the kind of experience that I wanted to bring along for Keystone Heights. And so with that said, my door is always open. If anyone has any questions, concerns, issues, citizens, city council, whoever it may be, just let me know, and if I don't have an answer, I'll find one for you.
Well, I want to welcome you to the South.
Thank you.
Get away from that cold weather you talk about up there in Iowa.
Not a lot
all
of
those
fun,
snow
but
drifts and whatnot.
Everyone here has been so kind, too, and
Good.
welcoming, so I really appreciate that. It's made things much easier.
I didn't detect any south mouth. It sounded like you might be from the Midwest.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said I did not detect any south mouth when you talked.
No.
So I think you must be from the Midwest, as I am.
I am.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Well, we're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
So welcome. And if there's anything we can do, certainly
Sure.
let us know as well.
Will do. Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
One of the things that we did promise Craig was that he would not have to shovel snow. And he really liked that, too. He was sharing some experiences with the airport in Iowa that he was managing, and just the snow drifts and having to borrow equipment to move it. So I assured him he would not have that problem at Keystone. All right, 2 more items. The FDOT Spaceport Aviation Annual Inspection was completed on September the 18th. Overall, there were no deficiencies, and the inspector complimented our airfield staff on how well the airport is maintained and in compliance with both FAA and FDOT regulations. A carryover from last year was a minor notation that both active runway identifier markings were faded and should be repainted. FDOT does recognize this cost could be about $150,000, and so they have placed our airport on a list. We were on it last year. It's kind of one of those things, you have to be on the list, and the longer you're there, the better your chances are at getting funding. So we've been placed on that list to potentially receive funds and get this repainting completed as soon as possible. Mr. Kuhn and Mr. Sherbach are finalizing the airfield supervisor job description and job announcements. Both of those will be emailed. In fact, they've already been emailed to the career resource entities that we utilized when we were hiring the airport manager. So things are moving along very well at the airport. Any questions?
No? Congratulations.
Thank you. We're happy
to have him.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy for you all.
Has he had a Joni's hot dog yet?
Not yet, because
Okay.
she's
out.
country.
Okay.
Just wait. That's awesome. Okay, planning and zoning. Mr. Towski?
Yes, Madam Mayor, as the Facebook buzz is going on, Popeye's Chicken is scheduled to open as of Wednesday.
Whoop.
I can tell you that from my son, who is employed there currently, that Wednesday is their date, that they're gearing up and ready to go, so we should be having fried chicken from Popeye's Wednesday if you'd like to wait.
I saw there's a crowd of them there tonight.
I knew it was going to be soon because I drove by there the other day and the whole crew dressed in orange.
Yeah, they have
were
orange
having
on
They were
tonight.
having a meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the lights were all on, so that's good.
Have had conversations with Mr. Wiggins over the PUD, and then we are also having conversations in some possible use by exceptions that are going to be coming in front of council once applications take place. I don't have those applications yet, but planning and zoning and council will be busy start of next year. So it'll be an exciting time for development for the city of Keystone Heights. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Heritage Commission. Ms. Christine?
Hello. Well, the focus this month is on our latest event. We're adding something new this year. It's going to be we're participating in Boo on the Boulevard. So rather than just pass out little trinkets, we're going to have a photo booth. We were going to hold this over at my house. And so in the driveway, you know, at the parties, the young people these days, every party they have this photo booth set up with the backdrop and everything. So we're going to do a rather large one with Boo on the Boulevard in the background, and there's a graveyard scene and all that. And so the families can get a picture of themselves. We'll take the photo, we'll have volunteers there take a photo with their own camera and with some professional lighting. And so we'll just sneak into the scene, you know, Heritage Commission and Keystone Heights and all that. Plus we're going to add a little tombstone for our for our council member who passed away during a council meeting, Mr. Smith.
Oh.
He's going to be in our graveyard. Well, we might add a few other ones. You know, you never let me do anything scary for Halloween. Anyway, it should be a lot of fun. We'll see how well it goes. We usually have so many people that hopefully we won't be mobbed, but I think there's going to be quite a few volunteers there to help out. So over at my house. And that's it for this month.
Great. Thank you. Okay, moving on to council comments.
I have none.
Yeah? Ms. Thompson?
I would like to respond to Mr. Kirkland from what he said earlier. My comments that I made on the council meeting on September 25th were not, so I did throw in some of my personal feelings. I don't have anything personal against anybody at the airport. Nothing that I've noticed at the airport has been personal to me. I just want to make that clear. Nothing that's happened. Nobody out there was a personal friend of mine. But I used the YouTube videos. And I just quoted the YouTube videos. I didn't say any of that. That was all out of the airport, Keystone Heights Airport Authority meetings and the city council meetings. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Any citizen can come to this meeting. So, I mean, if the citizens want to know what's going to be on the voting, on the ballot for voting, they can watch it on YouTube. I know all about YouTube. They can watch it on YouTube, but you can't make people watch YouTube. And you can't make people attend meetings. So, I mean, it's up to the citizens. If they're interested to know, before I became on, or I was a member of city council, I didn't know a lot about what was going on in this town, and I would always vote, and I would always have to research it myself. So I get what you're saying about and I'm sorry. You're a doctor, right? Yes. But people need to take it upon themselves to learn and research what's going on in their community. This is an open meeting. Anybody can come in. You can't make people come. But I appreciate all the participation we've had lately. Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
I just want to talk about the Keystone Indians for a few minutes. This week is our homecoming. And even though it's been 40-something years since I've been in school, it is fun to go and watch a Friday night football game. And win or lose, it's still fun, you know. So this week is homecoming, and if you're not doing anything Friday night, come out to the football game and support our Keystone Indian football.
Thank you.
Yep.
It is fun. I attended Sheriff Cook's her relaunch campaign for re-election this past week, and it was really well attended. So that was fun to go to. So I'm excited to see how that's going to go for her. Also, I will have my first Minutes with the Mayor meeting the public on October 14th at the Pavilion from 10 till noon, Saturday morning. I'm going to move this timeline around each month just so I can capture other folks based on their conveniences and things that they have where they can come and sit and chat. And it's certainly an open meeting that they can talk about whatever they want. One of the key things that I'm going to do is, just like Ms. Thompson said, I want to make sure folks are aware of how they learn about things that are going on. Myself, what I had to learn was when I sat here in the audience being a representative for Heritage Commission, I didn't really know what was happening and, how the city runs and how they make decisions and all the conversations, et cetera. So we certainly encourage folks to, if they can't be here physically, to sit and listen to a YouTube video, and all of our meetings are like that for our council meetings. The workshop is more of an open situation where there's a lot more freedom in the conversation, not quite as structured as we have in these meetings. And we don't vote during those particular events. So it's kind of like a, brainstorming kind of a experience when we have the workshops, which I think is good, so everyone can say what they want to say. And that's pretty much what I have. And so, Mr. Clark, Chief Clark, did you have any comments? There he is.
All this time I've been coming here, this is the first time y'all called me up for this vote.
Well, it's the second, but you missed the last one, or the first one.
I apologize for that. I was out of town. So my name is Jeremy Clark. I'm the Assistant Chief of Patrol for the south end of the county, which includes Keystone, obviously. We're far enough along in the year that we can start to make some inferences about some of the crime data and some of the metrics and statistics that we track. And before I kind of go into any of that, I just want to say that one of the big things that we had as a priority this year, or at least that I had as a priority at the patrol level, was trying to keep, at all times trying to keep at least 3 deputies in the Keystone area round the clock. And that's in addition to, that's for patrol deputies only. And then in addition to that, we had, I tried to keep at least 2 or 3 times a week traffic units and traffic deputies coming down and providing services, and then our patrol task force as well. It seems that that's had a good impact based on the numbers and stuff. So where we're at kind of right now from this year, comparing 23 to 22, the 2 biggest kind of factors that I would throw out is that we had 5% less 911 calls in the Keystone area, and then I had a 3% increase in on-view activity by the deputies, meaning that was calls that while patrolling, they see something and they get involved in it. So, and we really kind of heavily push on-view and self-initiated activity because that's them doing their job, right? Either seeing somebody suspicious or seeing something going on that they need to go ask questions about or get in the middle of. And typically we get the most mileage out of that type of law enforcement, that kind of community type policing of the community that they're working in. On the crash side, we've again pushing really hard despite some of our staffing issues that we've had over the last 2 years. We still try to push a lot of traffic enforcement in this area in response to complaints from the folks that live in the area. We did about 6,500 traffic stops, which was a 40% increase over last year. We issued about 2,600 traffic citations, which was a 32% increase, and about 2,000 warnings, which is a 50% increase over last year. Our crashes for this zone were around 497 for the year, which is the lowest zone among all of the zones in the county. And then we had 6 fatalities, which I've been here 25 years, and sometimes that number's been really high for Keystone because of the rural nature of it. So that's not a horrible number, other than any fatality is horrible. But on our patrol side, Again, patrol cases are down, or patrol calls are down about 8% from last year. With 911, the non-emergency calls are about the same. So we haven't really increased there. We've had nearly 160 Safer Watch calls, which is about a 60% increase. Those are calls where we actually dispatched a deputy in regard to somebody using Safer Watch. So the use is increasing. It does work, and we continue to encourage folks to access that app. And then on the actual crime data, we had about 100 property crimes, which is about the same as last year, so no increase. We've had one less domestic violence case this year than last year right now at this time, so always a good thing. And then our persons crimes, we had 26 persons crimes so far this year, and we had 21 last year. So we slight little tick up in persons crimes. And the only thing I will say on that is that it almost universally is people who know each other, and they're not stranger crimes. They're you know, offender and victim are known to one another. A lot of them are domestic. So that's pretty much where we're at. I would remind you guys that National Night Out is tomorrow night. So we will be here, hoping to see everybody there. And that's it, unless you guys have some questions for me.
Do you know when the next SheriffNet meeting is here? What the date is?
You would have asked me something I didn't have on
October
here.
25th, I believe, that Thursday. And so the sheriff's time meeting is going to be combined with the Clay
That's
County
right.
Chamber meeting,
Yep.
the LRPC
Okay, good.
meeting.
Okay.
And it'll be held at the pavilion.
That's our first combined meeting,
Yes.
isn't it? Yes.
I'm
Okay.
glad they're going to do that.
So October 25th.
Yeah, because I think it kind of dilutes both meetings, unfortunately, so, great.
Well, we're excited about that. We get more
Oh, yeah.
people in the room.
Oh, yeah.
can
We got to
cover-
beat Penny Farms.
We can kill.
I mean, they have, what, 80, and we get like 40 or something? I
Yeah,
know
but
we can do better.
Let's be fair, there's somewhat of a captive audience there.
Yeah, I know. But it's always so good. I mean, those meetings are amazing.
They
You
are.
learn so much at them, you know, and
They
I
are.
love the setup.
Yeah, we try to pull the stops out, so.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
any other questions? No? Thank y'all very much.
Thank you for what you do.
Absolutely.
Okay, Ms. Rotowski.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, I had a conversation with the mayor this afternoon. Because of National Night Out and things that are coming through this office, I'm asking that the mayor can sit in at the airport meeting for me as the liaison, if that's okay with council.
Sure.
The next item of business that I have is that we do have now a special council meeting where we will be talking about 3 things on October 23rd at 10 o'clock. That will be the appointment of a city council member for the remainder of seat 3, and then it will be first reading for the ordinance 604, which is the Keystone Beach, and then 605, which will be the airport seat. Our regular meeting for November, December is scheduled for November 20th at 6 p.m. And then that will be our last regular meeting for this year. Any other meetings will be special call meetings for appointments of city clerk and things of that nature. Sat down with Miss Erin with the Smart North Florida and our smart cities, so that is going well. She's looking at putting together documentation. Council will either have that for the November, December meeting or first thing in the January meeting. Very excited to be working with Manzana again for the parks plan. And like I said, that should be wrapped up. We'll schedule a couple of public workshops to be held at the pavilion. I'll work with them now that we've got a signed agreement on when that's going to be. I'll email out and post those dates, and then that should be wrapped up at the end of January as well. And so we've got all of our plans that will be wrapped up prior to new city manager coming on.
Okay,
And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
thank you. Mr. Commando? Nothing? Okay. Thanks, everyone, for being here tonight. Appreciate it very much.